Hey, this is Chris with Phoenix Gaming. Today we're going to talk about Old World. We're going to do a brief overview of the game. What to expect from this video is the first thing we're going to talk about. Then we're going to talk about what you need to play, what's helpful to play. We're going to do a breakdown of the game with a very minor overview of each phase. We're going to jump from there to army construction, and then we're going to talk about scoring and some alternate scoring that I've worked on with some buddies to try to create a competitive scoring packet for this game. This video is not designed to be an in-depth tutorial, but what it is designed to do is give people who are interested in Old World a brief overview of the game and how it works and is structured. It is designed to lay out what players will want and what they will need to get started, and then, like I said, we're going to talk about scoring, etc. What you're going to need to play are all the normal things you would expect from a GW game. You'll need your models, you'll need your dice, all this stuff. You will need templates because templates are back, baby. I'm so pumped. I really look forward to it. I'm really excited about having templates back on the table. Movement trays are not necessary, but they are extremely useful. I will put a link in the description for some if you want to get them and help a brother out, because any movement trays you buy from that link will give me a little percentage. In addition, I'm going to make a video that talks about how to use round bases with Old World, because if you're like me and you have some of your older models that started on squares, then moved to circles, you're not necessarily looking forward to moving them back to squares again. So don't worry, I've got you covered. There is an army builder. I will put a link in the description. That's also very useful. It'll help you when making your lists and your armies for the different armies in the game. Game overview. We're going to have a brief talk on the flow of the game. The first thing you're going to do is muster your forces, and this is just creating your army list. That's all it is. Then you're going to choose scenario. There's 6 in the core rulebook, and I'm sure more are coming. You're going to set up the battlefield, which would be placing terrain, any kind of special things that need to be put on the table, all that kind of good stuff. Then you're going to deploy your armies. Deployment and first turn and all of that information is found in each individual scenario. And then you're going to start your game. The game flows through a series of phases and will have a very familiar structure. It still follows Games Workshop's standard I go, you go turn structure. Each round is broken into turns and each turn split into the following phases. The turn starts with the strategy phase. You will cast enhancements or hexes, activate trigger rules that specify they happen in that phase, and then rally fleeing units. And for the most part, all of these things are going to happen in the order that I'm saying them. From there, you'll move to the movement phase where you declare charges, then charge reactions, then move charging units. Compulsory moves such as fleeing units. I believe Goblin Fanatics also move in the compulsory move section, so that will tell you on their war scroll or datasheet or whatever you want to call it. Then after you've done that, you'll do remaining moves, and that would just be the rest of the units in your army that you would like to move. Once you've moved everything, you will finish the movement phase with conveyance spells. From there, you'll go to the shooting phase. The active player shoots with eligible units. We will cover shooting in a separate video, but for the most part, just understand if you don't have a ranged attack, you're not eligible to shoot. This isn't 40K. There's a lot of difference between how units can shoot, will shoot, etc. And there's no such thing as eligible to shoot. I'm just using that terminology. Once you've done your shooting, you can then cast your magic missile or vortex spells. From there, you'll move to the combat phase, and that's where you resolve your melee hand-to-hand, and then you'll cast assailment spells. Once combat phase is resolved, the active player's turn ends, and it goes to the next player. Army construction. This game utilizes a very familiar point system, but there is a lot. This is not like 8th ed, 9th ed, 40K, where you just buy a unit and you do your thing. This is a lot more like old 40K or old fantasy, where you've got multiple different upgrades for your units. You have different mounts you can buy for different characters, etc. So there's going to be a lot to your army construction. Each army will have a breakdown on how you can construct your army. The rules may be the same. I've not looked at them all yet, but what I will do is talk about the Goblin army. Orcs and goblins, up to 50% of your total points can be characters. This includes their war gear, mounts, magical items, etc. You are limited to one lord, which would be war bosses, weird knobs. Lord, again, isn't a term that was used in the book, it's just an old fantasy term. You get one lord per 1,000 points. At least 25% of your army's total points need to be core. Certain generals unlock different core selections. And then up to half or 50% of your army can come from special units. For goblins, it would include units like trolls, squig hoppers, bolt throwers, things like this. And then 25% of your army can be rare. For goblins, again, this is giants, doom divers. A lot of your siege engines are going to sit in the rare section. Keep in mind that some units will have further restrictions. Mangler squigs and squig hoppers are both limited to one of those units per night goblin character, for example. Doom divers are restricted to one per 1,000 points. So not only do you have points restrictions on what you can take, but certain things will have further restrictions. I believe the steam tanks, if I remember right, are one for every 1,000 points. One of my buddies was already complaining about that, and I said, sorry, man, this is not 40K. You don't get to just take what you want. You actually have to field something that looks generally like an army in fantasy. There are also mercenaries and allies restrictions, but we're not going to dive into that just yet. The main thing to keep in mind is these are all hard caps and include magic items, war gear, banners, everything. So you don't just take 50% of your points in special units and then you get your upgrades. It's a hard cap, everything you put on it. So if you spend all your rare points on a single unit, that's the only rare you get to take. Doesn't matter what upgrades, etc. you take. Scoring. Some scenarios have instant win victory conditions, but if both or neither players meet them, you'll use victory points instead. Other scenarios purely use victory points, and some scenarios will actually have ways to score additional victory points. Scoring is done as follows. This is all from the core rulebook. Dead or fled, you get victory points equal to the points cost of destroyed or fled units. You get half the points cost if the unit is currently fleeing at the end of the battle, and you get 25% of the points cost if it's less than 25% of its starting strength. King is dead, you get 100 points for killing the enemy general. Trophies are 50 points for every enemy standard claimed. An additional 50 points is scored if the standard bearer is dead or fleeing. And then, like I said before, additional points if scenarios or objectives offer them. There's other things such as special features that can be included to score more points. Talking about scoring, the rulebook scoring is great, and it definitely creates a fun game. But just like any scoring system, it's going to have its flaws. And I'm not here to tell you I can do it better, because I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is, from a competitive tournament play standpoint, this scoring system can create some issues quickly. If the game generally only scores points for killing, which most of it will, the game could quickly devolve into who can do the mega hard alpha strike first, or how can I kill you without even having to move. And that's not what we want from a competitive play standpoint. We want games to be fun and interactive where players have to use different things to score points and they need to actually move in position. As a player, and I know I rag on dwarves a lot, but a good example is as a player, if I know I can just table you turn 1 or 2 by shooting you off the board, I'm just going to take guns and shoot you off the board. Good luck getting through that. So if we can open up scoring to different things, we can see those dwarf gun lines still, but then those dwarf players will need different units for doing some of the more utility scoring that could be involved in the game. In addition, we'd be looking at trying to prioritize units that are good at things besides removal. And from a competitive sense, it could create a very stale meta if we don't, in which we see cookie cutter net lists. I do understand that cookie cutter net lists are always going to be a thing, or a think if you're reading the screen. I apologize for that. But I still think even with net lists, a healthy meta and a healthy game would feature more variety than some of the other game meta that are out there. If if I go to a tournament and there's 100 players and 50 of them are playing Necrons, and of those 50 playing Necrons, 45 of them are playing the same list, that is not a healthy meta. So what I've tried to do is create a scoring system that any army can participate in that still rewards removal with kill points, but also promotes movement and interactivity through scoring based on positioning and a very familiar system of actions. It is currently in playtesting, so if you're interested in more details or would like to help playtest, let me know and I will send you the full packet. It's going to grow. I've got terrain layouts and stuff in it and everything. Players would score points for the following things. You'd still get points for unit destruction. As of right now, fleeing and partially destroyed units don't count, but that could change. If we just find that you're not scoring enough for removal, we could change that. Points for character killing are based on the points value of the character destroyed. Both of these would have a points cap so that non-killing objectives can be equally weighted. And again, all of this is fluid, so it will change as we play test and run this at events. In addition to killing, you'd have points for claiming table quarters, and that would be scored at the end of your turn. The more quarters you can claim, the more you will score points for claiming them. So it's not a claim this table quarter, gain 1 point, claim this table quarter, gain another point. It would be a tiered system of something like 1, 3, 5, 8. In addition, you'll get points for getting units wholly in your opponent's deployment zone. And this is, again, to promote movement. Obviously, there's going to be some armies that can do this a little better, but some of those armies are also going to be not necessarily quite as good at some of the other things. You're going to have points for performing special actions. You can use priests or wizards for these actions, and you would do it in lieu of casting or chanting. And to the best of my knowledge, every army should have access to this objective. The reason is because we're opening it up to priests. Initially, I was only going to do wizards, but I wasn't thinking about the fact that some armies just don't have wizards. So we open it up to priests. Priests can now, instead of chanting, do the same action, and then they'd get points based on where they are when they do the action. You wouldn't pick these. It's not like 9th edition 40K where you just pick 2 objectives and that's what you score. You'd be actively tracking all of them all game. And again, the goal is to promote unit diversity and prevent the very static pass turn play style. I don't want to see 2 players who are just, all right, skip my movement, do my shooting, pass turn. We want players to be interacting with each other. We want positioning to matter. This is going to be an ever-changing system, and it is intended purely for competitive play. It's not meant to completely replace the normal system. Because, like I said, I'm not saying I could do it better, and this may end up not even working, but I'm pretty confident that at least for local events, players are going to enjoy it once we get it all ironed out and all the details worked out. Thanks for watching. Tomorrow we're streaming Age of Sigmar. It's going to be my Oops All Squigs list, and I'm going up against Seraphon for the first time. So if you want to see me get my cheeks clapped, go ahead and tune into that because I've not played against Seraphon, and every time I play an army for the first time, I'm going to get my teeth kicked in. Keep a lookout for more Old World videos, and Blood Bowl videos are coming soon as well. Thanks for watching. Big shout out to my hatchling, the real Donnie G, my Phoenix, Jamie, and my immortals, Lord Wellingstone, Danny Boy, and Captain Too Tall. You guys are awesome. Appreciate the support. We've got links in the description, links on the screen. Hit that Amazon affiliate link if you want to support me by getting some movement trays. Have a good day.